Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. And it is the week of August 23rd. Again, I'm down here in San Diego. Need to record outside, so my apologies now for any of the background noise. But an important week for us to kind of get caught up on what's been happening in the Middle East. Before we get to that, a concern. I always start with musings, but just as a reminder, go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com in order to access the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this YouTube video. And believe me, there's much more information there than I have time for in this short video. So make sure you get that. Musings. What concerns me with everything that's going on now with the Congresswoman, the squad, Trump, is that it was not that long ago when a very, very proportionately small group of motivated gays and lesbians changed the world that we now live in. I can no longer keep up with all the acronyms. You know, it was the rainbow flag, it was gays, it was LGs, it was in LGB, and now it's LGBT. No, I think now it's LGBTQ, and God only knows what's next. But this really isn't the subject of this musing or this rant, I guess you would say. But what I'm concerned about is the traction that has been given to the so-called squad. Such a small percentage of Democrats that are supporting BDS, but you would never know that with all the media traction that they're getting. And because of what took place, it's of great concern of mine. I fear that we're seeing another erupting anti-Semitic movement that will, if it's not already, will soon be spinning out of control. So with all that in mind, my fellow KFIR brothers and sisters, let's stay strong and let's take a stand. As watchmen on the wall, let's make sure that when we see danger, we're sounding the shofar, okay? And I'm letting you know I'm seeing danger at this time. Well, our news bites this week, former New York Councilman David Greenfield, I love this quote because of everything that's going on with Trump and his threats to the Democratic Party are labeling them as anti-Jewish. But Greenfield says, you know, we've learned over thousands of years that whenever government officials single us out, it's usually not a good thing for the Jews. And despite what's taken place, despite how supportive I am of Trump's stance with Israel, it's getting to be of a concern at this point in time, and seeing our country being divided, and the divisions taking place with thoughts or opinions about Israel. Again, as this congressperson noted, things don't bode well when Israel is in the news and being singled out like this. Now, back to the so-called squad, Omar. After Israel announced that it would deny their entry, Omar said on Friday that U.S. aid to Israel should be questioned due to, I love this phrase, actions that she said were not consistent with either being an ally or a democracy. And so it goes. And then Rashid's comments about the wall of separation. She says walls are destructive, not productive. But Ramadan Shali, head of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, would, I think, disagree with her in a sense. She says that suicide operations, which is an option that still exists for Islamic Jihad, is curtailed because of the separation wall, which is an obstacle for Palestinian or resistance terror. If it didn't exist, the situation would be completely different. That, Rashid, is why there is a wall. Well, the sad truth, this is the first article. Hear me out. In the eyes of Palestinian leaders, Jews are always the aggressors, while Palestinians are the perpetual victims. In the Palestinian lexicon, a Jew peacefully touring the Temple Mount is labeled an aggressor, while a Palestinian who's throwing stones and chairs at police officers and abuses the visitors on the Mount is, quote, the real victim. This is the image that Hamas, Abbas, Islamic Jihad are trying to create in the minds of the people in the world. This is what Palestinian terrorism is. You ready for this? A brother and sister's waiting for a ride. They get rammed by a terrorist in a car because he's a Palestinian terrorist and they are Jews. The attack was incited by the Palestinian Authority, which will now support the terrorist family. What a world. What crazy logic. Woe to those who call evil good and who call good evil. That's the only verse that comes to my mind with all of this. Hezbollah, arson, a fire that raged along Israel's northern border with Lebanon, appears to be the work of Hezbollah. It looks like they're getting their ideas from Hamas with the arson in the Gaza area. You know, UN peacekeepers can be seen in the video of this arson fire patrolling, but they make no attempt to stop the Hezbollah men from lighting the fires. And these fires caused the landmines in the area to explode, whatever. And now you understand why in Israel, the UN, it doesn't stand for United Nations. It stands for United Nothings. Well, the next article you can read is 5 terrorists that were killed. Again, this is an issue. They're killed trying to make their way into Israel via either tunnels or the border fence. They've been spotted, they've been eliminated, and the only reason I bring this up is because it seems like Gaza is once again going from lukewarm to the fire's burning and it's beginning to boil over once again. With the elections coming up, Netanyahu's being criticized for being not strong enough, and so there's talk about a land invasion and all of that. So again, something to keep our eyes on. A couple more articles before we run out of time. The fallout for a no entry, we've already mentioned that Omar and Tlaib held their press conferences. They questioned whether Israel should be receiving any support from the U.S. aid whatsoever. And I don't even want to give any more time to that. And then we had the debacle of Tlaib having her emotional performance on Monday in response to Israel's decision to restrict her travels. Trump goes on to say, you know, I've watched her violence, her craziness, and most importantly, her words for far too long. Now we get tears. I'm not buying it. She's an anti-Semite. She hates Israel. And so, again, it's going on and on and on. You know, the Pew Research that does these polls basically came out with the fact that 79% of Jewish voters supported Democratic candidates in the 2018 midterm elections. It seems like Trump's rhetoric is, in a sense, to go after them, saying, here's the face of the Democratic Party, here's the squad, are you going to support them? So again, we'll have to wait and see the ramifications of all of that. Bottom line, I'll end with this. There's a couple articles, make sure you get to them, but I call this truth spoken here. Hear me out. But over the last 25 years, the Palestinians, since the Oslo agreements, have had the opportunity to teach their children peace, but they have done exactly the opposite. Violence has been reduced, not for any moral reason, but because terror is seen right now as being counterproductive at this time. Palestinians are still teaching their people that violence is legitimate, it's a moral option, and that the terrorists are heroes. They glorify, they pay all terrorists who murder innocent Jews, even those who kill innocent Jewish children. That's it. That's what's going on this week in the Middle East. And again, just a reminder to stay on top of all this as watchmen on the wall. Be alert. Don't just follow the whims and the ways and the musings, the noise of the media, but understand what the Bible says, understand why it's important for us to stand with Israel. And with that, shalom.